The Rams released their unofficial depth chart, and there are definitely some notable takeaways.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Whose house? Rams house. What is going on, Ramley? And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Free and available on YouTube and wherever you get the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed, and all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcasting network, and all because of you guys. We're without the people's champ, Travis Rogers, today, but I'm Gavin Carlson. Very happy, as always, to be with you. It's been amazing being a part of the Daily Show. Thanks so much for all the support. And as always, got a great show for you. Trent McDuffie opens up on the Rich Eisen show about being traded to the Rams, about the potential duo that is Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald. We'll get to that. Puka Nacua, he's on another podcast, and there is definitely some good, but definitely some bad as well in what he had to say. But we will start today's show talking about the unofficial depth chart that was released. Before we do, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show. It is Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app. Use code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10. Also, I will say, I'm repping the LA legend, the UCLA legend, Russell Westbrook. Congrats on your retirement. Let's jump right into it, because the unofficial depth chart, any of these depth charts coming into the year, are always hilarious, in my opinion, because you've got some people who think it is the Bible. They think Sean McVay took out a pen and paper and hand wrote every single name. He stared at it. He thought for 10 minutes about who's going to go where. What do I want the Ramley to know? What do I want the rest of the NFL world to know? Other people go, some random media intern who's 19 and trying to get into a sports, program in college. They just put together something in 10 minutes and they're throwing it up there, and the coaches have no idea what he's coming up with, what she's coming up with. Well, I think it's somewhere in between. There are some notable things here to take away that I do think reveal a little bit about the mindset of Sean McVay and this Rams coaching staff, but none of this needs to be taken like it is official, right? Let's never forget Puka Nacua was behind Tutu Atwell on the depth chart. Right. So if we saw something crazy come in here, I don't know how much I would react to it. The first takeaway, and obviously probably the silliest, is still no Aaron Donald, right? We are expecting some sort of announcement in the coming days. Hopefully, I don't think that the announcement was going to be made on a depth chart release at a random time, right? So I'm not surprised by that one bit. No Aaron Donald, but certainly some notable things. And one thing I will say, there's a difference between notable and surprising. The first and most notable thing, in my opinion, is, of course, that Stetson Bennett is listed at quarterback 2, Ty Simpson at quarterback 3. Now, again, would anyone call that surprising? Well, not if you've been following the Rams offseason at all, because throughout training camp, it was Stetson Bennett running with the 1s when Matthew Stafford was not practicing, or it was Stetson Bennett running with the 2s when Matthew Stafford was practicing. Of course, Ty Simpson had some opportunities during certain parts of training camp, but during others, he wasn't getting snaps. He wasn't on the field very much. And Sean McVay, he loves to talk up his players in general, but he loves to talk up his players when they are proving that they belong, right? That when they're proving that they have improved from the past. And that's all Sean McVay's been talking about all offseason, all training camp, when it comes to Stetson Bennett, how pleased he is that Stetson's taking advantage of the opportunity. He's pointed out that it was Jimmy Garoppolo taking the snaps when Stetson Bennett was trying to fight for the backup spot. And let's not forget, he's had a couple preseasons now to show things. And while it didn't start pretty, he has shown that he has improved and improved. Now, if Travis was here right now, he'd be telling me and telling you guys, I don't care. I'm still terrified that Stetson Bennett is our quarterback 2. And that's probably fair, because Stetson has never accomplished anything on an NFL field in a game that matters, right? That being said, I'm not surprised one bit that he's the quarterback 2 instead of Ty Simpson, as much as I am growing on the idea that we picked Ty Simpson in the first round because of how stacked the roster already is. I don't think anybody wants a rookie to be the guy you have to turn to if your MVP goes down. You want a guy who has years of experience in the Sean McVay offense. So, yes, it's easily the first thing you look at. It's the most notable thing because it is quarterback, but it's not a surprise one bit, at least in my opinion. Now, something that was interesting is how the depth chart is actually listed on offense as well, because we've got 4 tight ends considered first string tight ends. Now, we know that the Rams have a bunch of tight ends. We know that they're planning to use a lot of tight ends with the 13 personnel. And coming into it, I was curious to see, is it still Colby Parkinson 1? Is it still Tyler Higbee 2? Or did Terrence Ferguson make a move? Is he now the tight end 2? Where's Max Clare on this? Where's Davis Allen on this while he's battling an injury? Well, an interesting thing here, because the Rams only list 2 starting wide receivers, where we know in the modern NFL, most list 3. They say, here's our 2 outsides, here's our slot. Well, not the Rams. They just say we have 2 outside receivers, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and we have 2 tight ends listed in Tyler Higbee and Colby Parkinson, but next to both of their names, there's an or. So it says Colby Parkinson or Terrence Ferguson. It says Tyler Higbee or Davis Allen. What is that implying? That's implying that there's 4 starting tight ends, and I don't expect to see 4 tight ends on the field at the same time very often, if ever. But what I do take away from this, what you should take away from this, is it's still a rotation. There is no clear number 1. There's no clear number 2. There's no clear number 3 or 4. There's going to be a rotation between the 4 tight ends, and then there's Max Clare, right? That's kind of the takeaway that I had. He's listed as not any of those 4. He's the 5th tight end. Not surprising at all. Another notable thing on this entire depth chart is there's a lot of guys that can kind of be thrown into multiple positions. Well, they're not on here, especially on offense. You were wondering if you'd see a Keagen Trost listed at a backup in multiple offensive line positions. No, he's just the backup right tackle. He's not the backup left tackle or any of the guard positions. That's notable, and it's same with the tight ends. Terrence Ferguson's not a backup receiver. Max Clare is not a backup receiver in addition to where they're listed at tight end. And I think that makes sense. As much as I think Terrence Ferguson will take some slots out of some snaps out of the slot, as much as I think he will be a pass catcher, much more than he'll be a run blocker or anything like that. Same with Max Clare. Makes sense that they're listed where they are. Now, again, going back to the offensive line real quick, it's notable that Keagen Trost is the backup right tackle and David Quessenberry is the backup left tackle, because we are all awaiting what is likely going to be a multi-game suspension for Alaric Jackson. And all signs so far have pointed to David Quessenberry being the backup there. This confirms it, I guess you could say. Again, it's another case of not surprising, but certainly notable. David Quessenberry's been getting the snaps at left tackle when Alaric Jackson's had to miss practice due to his health stuff, but also, in anticipation, of him ever being suspended and missing multiple games. So not surprising that David Quessenberry is the backup left tackle from now, but I really want to see what Keagen Trost can do. Matthew Stafford recently had comments saying how pleased he's been with Keagen Trost, a guy who has got a lot of experience despite being a rookie with all the years he played college football. We'll shift to the defense. Nothing crazy here. Again, the Rams list their depth chart a little bit different than other people. They've got 2 DNs, a nose tackle, and then 2 outside linebackers. The outside linebackers, of course, Byron Young and Myles Garrett. This is how it looked last year with Jared Verse, so not any different. But it's notable, again, because Myles Garrett, of course, has played D-end his entire career, and he's been the best D-end in football for his entire career. Listed as an outside linebacker. The good thing, it doesn't really mean much. Is he rushing the passer? That's all we care about. Yes, he is, okay? They've got Byron Young on the other side, Braden Fisk as a DN, Kobe Turner as a DN, and Poona Ford in the middle. No surprises there. The backup outside linebacker are Juwan Johnson and Josiah Stewart. Josiah Stewart certainly expected to play a big role in this Rams pass rush this year. He had a couple sacks last year. One of the guys I'm most excited to see in the preseason, because it's year 2. You're going to get opportunities because I don't expect Byron Young or Myles Garrett to play. So go out there and get a sack or 2, make a play, and then you don't need to play the second half either, because you're kind of a 1B. You're not quite a starter, of course, but you're still one of the more important guys in that pass rush rotation. Play a quarter or 2, get to the quarterback a couple times, and then take a break yourself. That's what I want to see. Anything else notable? I mean, it is notable that Wesley Bailey is all the way back as the fourth string outside linebacker. Also, some people were noting that Tim Keenan, the rookie draft pick, is very far in the back of the depth chart as well. But interesting and important to note that he is a nose tackle, whereas guys like Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, they're listed as DNs. So it makes it a little bit different there. I'm always interested to see how the secondary is explained, and it's as you'd expect. Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, the two outside corners, Josh Wallace and Emmanuel Forbes, the backup outside corners. They don't really do a slot corner thing, so curious to see how that will look. Of course, Cam Lampkin's been having a really, really good training camp, and I hope he has a great preseason because I think he has a real shot to make the team. And it's important with secondary to have cover in case you're, getting guys down with injuries. But of course, if you're ever in dime packages and need to have corners rotating, Cam Lampkin's had a great camp. We'll see if he can keep it going in the preseason as well. Of course, Quentin Lake and Cam Curl, the safeties, Cam Kitchens and Jalen McCullough, the backups. No surprise there as well. Linebacker and inside linebacker, you got Omar Spates and Nate Laneman, of course, as the two inside linebackers. I think very rarely will we see both on the field at the same time, in my opinion, because I'm expecting the Rams to be leading early and often in games, knock on wood, which means a lot of corners, a lot of DBs on the field to limit the pass game. But of course, you're always going to have pass rushers on the field because that's the strength of this defense. But it's Grant Stewart and Sean Dolak, the two backup inside linebackers. Obviously, Grant was expected to be a special team signing, but certainly has some potential to earn some snaps at inside linebacker. Let's be honest. In my opinion, it's the weakest position. I know Nate Landman was a great, pleasant surprise since he's joined, and Omar Spates, an undrafted guy out of LSU who's been good as well. Sean Dolak, a guy that was the talk of training camp last year. I know there's a lot of Dolak fans here that want to see him get more of an opportunity. I might be one of them, but at the end of the day, it's a weak core. Those linebackers have an opportunity to get some snaps. Of course, special teams, no surprises either. The only notable thing was going to be the punt return position, and Xavier Smith listed as the starter. The only notable thing is that it's not Kyron Williams as the backup. I know he had a couple of comments about taking some punt return snaps in the training camp session. Well, it's Konate Mumfield as the backup punt returner. So again, the big takeaway, I've said it about a million times already, is there's certainly notable things. Stetson Bennett, Ty Simpson being the number one thing, the four tight ends being the other main notable thing, but no surprises. We know that the tight end position is one that will be rotated, and we know that Stetson Bennett is the starting backup quarterback. He's the backup quarterback, which is why Ty Simpson will be starting in the first preseason game. Now, that's all for now from the unofficial depth chart release. We'll see if there's more. Of course, you'll get a bigger takeaway when you actually get to see who's on the field during the preseason. Now, up next on Locked On Rams, Puka Nacua was on whose podcast? And he said, what? Yeah, that's up next on Locked On Rams.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. Life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
And today's show also brought to you by Kalshi, because before season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the division, who makes the playoffs, and of course, who's lifting the trophy at season's end. Well, on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Of course, we only care about the Rams and winning the darn whole thing. And right now they're trading at 17% probability, which means a $10 trade would net you $59. I'm also looking at week 1. The Rams, of course, taking on the Niners in Australia. The Rams trading at a 67 or 65-ish% probability to beat the Niners in week 1, meaning a $10 trade would net you $15. Now, I love Kalshi because you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app, use code Locked On to get $10 when you trade $10. That's KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything, 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Let's keep it rolling on Locked On Rams, all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We already broke down the unofficial training camp depth chart that was released as we head into the first preseason game this Saturday against the Chiefs. But let's talk about Puka Nacua, because anytime I tell you Puka Nacua was on a podcast, you probably hold your breath at this point, and rightfully so. Some good and some bad. Let's start with the good. Why not? Actually, no, we're going to start with the bad, because Puka, he had some interesting things to say. First and foremost, he admitted to an injury that he suffered at Michael Rubin's party. Now, if you don't know who Michael Rubin is or what the Michael Rubin party is, I'll let you look that up on your own time. It's where a bunch of celebrities get together and they all wear white. It looks a little bit like a cult, like I said on the Squad show yesterday. And he admitted that he ran into a glass window pane at the party and injured his face. Now, I thought we were kind of over this with Puka Nacua and doing dumb things, respectfully, right? Ever since he's been back at Rams camp, he's talked about going to rehab and journaling and being back at home at the Rams. Well, he admitted that he clearly has not fully calmed down yet. He ran into a window pane. He claims he was looking for his teammate Devontae Adams and ended up running into the glass window pane. Is this a big deal? Is this not? I don't know, but the takeaway from the co-host of this impulsive podcast with Logan Paul, his co-host, Mike, I think it's Mijla. I don't know. I don't care. All right. But he said he was there and that Nacua was bleeding from the face. Is it a big deal? Not necessarily, but is it a little bit frustrating to hear that Puka is still doing things like this and still talking about it? Yes, in my opinion, it's a little bit annoying. We'll keep it going because that wasn't the only kind of weird thing that he said. He was asked about his next contract and what he wants out of it. And we'll get to the good news of that. But the interesting thing he said is that he wants to own half of an NFL team. He asked, can I play in the league and still have ownership in the team? And it's just kind of silly, right? It's not that big a deal. It's silly. The good takeaway from this interaction was that he said he wants to stay with the Rams. And now, obviously, that's not surprising in one bit, but you never know. And right when he's coming off of saying that he ran into a glass window pane and he's bleeding from his face, and when he's talking about wanting to own half an NFL team, which respectfully, Puka, would take you about 40 years to get to, you don't know what he's going to say when he's asked about if he wants to stay with the Rams. But fortunately, when asked, he said, that's the plan. I don't want to leave. It's so hard. He also jokingly said that, hey, receivers are getting paid like quarterbacks nowadays, which is true. It's nice that he has that awareness. What I would ask Puka is that if you're going to rightfully point out how much wide receivers get paid and how much you should be getting paid soon, how much you already should have been paid if you were behaving respectfully, note how quarterbacks have to act, right? Are quarterbacks going on podcasts? Of course. But are they getting videotaped running around drunk in the streets? No. Are they getting in trouble for the things he's gotten in trouble for? No. Are they going on the impulsive podcast with Logan Paul, a guy who, in my opinion, I don't want you doing podcasts with? I don't think so. So I know there's going to be some people who are saying, Gavin, calm down. You're being a snowflake, whatever. That's fair. I just want Puka to lock in because he is, in my opinion, I have him at number 2. I have him over JSN. I get laughed at. I get bullied. I get made fun of by a lot of people for saying I have Puka over JSN. I have him just below Jamar Chase, and that's because Jamar Chase is just kind of a freak in every way. I believe that, and I want him to be a Ram for life like he is saying. He just needs to lock in a little bit, just a little bit. because if he does, he's going to get paid a lot of money, and he's going to catch a lot of passes from Matthew Stafford the next couple of years, and hopefully Ty Simpson after that. And he's going to win an Offensive Player of the Year or two. I think he should have gotten it last year. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl or two. He's just got to lock in and not do dumb things like run into glass window panes at the Michael Rubin party. Again, it's not a huge deal. Do I think a deal gets done? That's the big question. I was saying definitely not no when, a couple weeks ago, the reports were he hasn't even been talking with the Rams about a contract. But then when he went and got new representation, typically that only happens if you're about to go into negotiations. I thought, okay, now there's a chance it gets done before week one, or at the very least the first couple weeks of the year. Now, of course, yesterday we spent the podcast talking about how Adam Schefter says Puka Nacua could be suspended for week one, and the Rams are not going to sign a long-term extension with the guy while he's finding out if he's going to be suspended for a game or two. My old friend, of course, the former host of this show, D-Mac Doug McCain, on his show, I loved what he said. He said he thinks the NFL gives them a 2-game suspension. Puka appeals it, and it gets dropped to 1. I don't love it because that's what I want to see, of course, but I do think that makes sense. I do think the NFL could try to make a bit of a statement by suspending him for 2 games, seeming all big and tough and hard, and then he appeals it, it gets dropped to 1. Now, in a dream world, he gets suspended for 1 game, he appeals it, and the suspension gets lifted altogether. I don't see that happening, though, because then, if anything, that makes the NFL and Roger Goodell look weak when they're trying to look big and tough and strong. But we'll see what happens. The moral of the story is Puka Nacua, keep it on the field, man. This should be like the last podcast you're doing. And you never know when this is recorded, right? You never know. This could have been recorded 2 months ago. I don't know. But it should be the last podcast he's recording anytime soon, in my opinion, because it's time to lock in and focus on week one, whether you're playing or not, and focus respectfully for your own sake on getting paid, man. That's what I want to see. I want you to get paid because I want you to be a Ram for life. But that's all for now on Puka. Up next, we'll talk about Trent McDuffie because he wasn't on a podcast. He was on the Rich Eisen show, and he had nothing but good things to say. That's up next on Locked On Rams. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time, and I always love talking to the Ramley about Game Time because nowadays there are more live events than ever worth seeing. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprising fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. It's the app built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. Now, I keep telling you guys, last week, I got to see the legendary Clips rap duo Pusha T, Malice in San Francisco, small venue, and I waited till the last second to buy tickets with Game Time, right? The prices continued to drop as you got closer to the event, and what I love, look, laugh at me all you want, I'm 5'4", all right? It's not easy for me to see, but with the seat views feature, I was able to see what the difference was between being general admission or being up in the balcony in different seats. And I was able to scope out my view before I even had to buy. Of course, best of all, no surprise fees. What I saw was what I had to pay at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And today's show also brought to you by Indeed, another sponsor we talk about so much because Indeed sponsor jobs, it's the best, right? When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed sponsor jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. The minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. I worked for a recruiting firm. We used Indeed Recruiter, and we used Indeed sponsored jobs because it's easy, right? And there's nothing like having the analytics right in front of you whenever you need them. So spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. And we keep it rolling for our third segment here on Locked On Rams, all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's talk Trent McDuffie, because we transitioned from Puka saying good and bad things on a podcast to Trent McDuffie saying all the right things on the Rich Eisen show. I know he was recently on, I believe, Bussin' with the Boys as well, but he had a lot to say about the Rams, and it seems like every time he talks about the Rams, he's just so thrilled to be a Ram. Well, that wasn't always the case, right? When he found out he was in trade talks, he was not a fan. He told Rich Eisen, honestly, I was full bore. I thought I was going to be a Chief at the end of last year, right around the NFL Combine time. He kind of heard that wasn't going to be a thing. He said his agents had a few talks with Kansas City going into the offseason, but suddenly it sounded like he wasn't going to get a deal. And he said he was a little frustrated being in limbo when he had no contract clarity. He's coming off a career couple of years. He's ready for that extension. And he said it was kind of like he went to bed one day not knowing. Then he woke up the next day and he was a Ram. It was a 360 turnaround in like 4 days. Now, this is not easy, right? I always love to tell these stories or hear them tell these stories because you have no idea. You just hear McDuffie gets traded to the Rams and everyone on the outside goes, hey, Trent McDuffie got traded to the Super Bowl champs. He gets to go back home. He gets to sign a big deal. He should be happy. He shouldn't be stunned at all. But I think this talks to the loyalty of Trent McDuffie, that he loved the Chiefs. He wanted to stay with the Chiefs. And even though Patrick Mahomes is coming off an injury, even though there's a lot of uncertainty about if the Chiefs are still at the top of the NFL, he wanted to be there. Well, now he's a Ram. He's in the best organization in football, in my humble opinion. He's on the Super Bowl favorites. Of course, he's back home in Los Angeles, and he does get that bag that he wanted. He is at home. He's certainly at peace, and he is got to be a Ram for as long as he wants, right? I think he is going to want to be here for a while. I don't think this could be his last contract as a Ram. Now, of course, being a cornerback, it's hard to get to that next big contract because it's not really a position you play into your 40s. But if what this tells me is in 5 years, if the question is if the Rams can re-sign Trent McDuffie, don't be surprised in 5 years from now. Yes, I'm trying to call my shot all the way down the road. Don't be surprised if he's a guy who's saying, I might take a little bit less because I want to be here. I want to be a Ram for the rest of my life. I want to stay at home. And I love how everything operates here. He said he called the welcome from Sean McVay and the entire Rams locker room phenomenal. He said he already feels back at home. And I love that story he told a couple weeks ago about when the Myles Garrett trade was made and how nobody in the Rams facility was happy. They were all sad. They're all like, wait, what about Jared Verse? That's our dog. That's our guy. And he's like, but you guys are trading for Myles Garrett. They didn't care, right? And he loved that loyalty that the entire Rams locker room had in being like, no, Jared Verse is our guy. We are going to miss him. We are so bummed. And just the way that was all handled with Jared Verse talking to the guys before he was let go and did head for Cleveland, that was awesome. I love to hear that. I also love hearing Trent McDuffie talk about the potential duo that is Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald. Now, we are another day without hearing anything. This is kind of the longest we've gone without hearing anything about Aaron Donald. And in my opinion, I'm going to try to tell myself it's good news, right? Because we see him over the weekend training with Braden Fisk, training with Juwan Johnson, and the talk was, all right, he looks good. Some people saying he doesn't look good, which I thought was a load of you-know-what, right? There was the reports of, hey, he could make the announcement at the beginning of this week. Then Mike Florio says, might be towards the end of the week. And really since Monday, we have not heard anything else regarding Aaron Donald. I think it's because an announcement's coming. I think there's nothing left to be said at this point. And again, if my partner Travis Rogers was here, he'd be saying, let's get it over with already. Well, I think we are going to soon. Trent McDuffie, of course, was asked about Aaron Donald by Rich Eisen, and he kept it simple. He's like, I have no idea how an offense is supposed to block the two of them, Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett together. He said even Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay don't know how they would handle it, right? He said, I even try to think of it, asking Sean McVay and the offense's perspective and talking to Stafford. I'm like, how are you guys even going to do your blocking schemes? Who are you going to slide to? Who are you going to try to double team? Like, what problems does Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett have on an offense? And they're just both like, I don't know. We don't even know. Sean McVay in my opinion, the best offensive mind in football. According to NFL defensive coordinators, they have him at number 2 behind Kyle Shanahan, at least in terms of play calling. Well, if Sean McVay says he has no idea, then that means every other offensive mind has no idea how they're supposed to handle it. And of course, it makes perfect sense. There's only 5 offensive linemen. You can't double team 2 guys. So it means either Myles Garrett or Aaron Donald is going one-on-one at your quarterback every single snap. Not to mention there's still Byron Young. Not to mention there's still Braden Fisk. Not to mention there's still Kobe Turner. Not to mention, even if you do try to leave an extra tight end in there or a tight end and a running back in there, you could try to block with 7 guys. Well, guess what? Now you only have 3 to throw to, and you got Trent McDuffie, you got Jalen Watson, you got a great secondary with the safeties as well. Good luck. I think the biggest takeaway, kind of the craziest takeaway from training camp, from even the joint practice, is that the defense might be better than the offense. And I think that is a good problem to have coming into the year. If Matthew Stafford-led offense is not the best side of the ball for you as a team, man, that's great news, right? We know that the Rams defense was the question mark for a lot of last year, especially the second half of the year. Byron Young cooled down a little bit. Jared Verse still wasn't getting all the way to the quarterback and finishing the job. And the secondary was starting to get fried, right? Well, if the defense is better than the offense coming into the season, that is a great problem for our Rams to have. Now, again, we won't get to see Trent McDuffie in the preseason game. He won't get to make his debut against his former team in the Chiefs. Don't expect to see him or Watson. I wonder if Emmanuel Forbes plays, because kind of like Josiah Stewart, he's like that 1B, that 1.5 in terms of not quite a first-team player, but certainly not a second-team player. There will be plenty of snaps where there's 3 guys on the field in Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and Emmanuel Forbes. We will not see McDuffie. I wonder if we see Emmanuel Forbes. We will, of course, not see Myles Garrett or Aaron Donald out there. But my question is, do we see Aaron Donald on the sideline on Saturday? I think that is the bigger question. And knowing my luck, I'll let you guys know. I'm recording this in the morning. Ross will have it up later in the day, Thursday. There's a chance that by the time you guys are watching this, Aaron Donald could be officially announced as returning. I have a feeling it's today or tomorrow. People typically don't like to release news on a Friday unless they're trying to sweep it under the rug, and I don't think the Rams would try to sweep Aaron Donald under the rug. It's a big guy to sweep under the rug. But there's a chance by the time you're watching this, Aaron Donald is officially announced. I just have a feeling it's going to be in the next 24 to 48 hours, and hopefully I am right so we can get excited about Aaron Donald. But we are going to wrap this one up. As always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rams your first listen each and every day. Now, make sure you check out the Locked On NFL Top 100. It is here. It's voted on by the NFL hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network, and their Top 100 was formed by experts that covered these teams and players every day. You can find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss any parts of it because there's a lot of Rams on there, of course, with how stacked our Rams roster is. Again, appreciate you guys joining me. It's fun to do the show by myself, but of course, I miss my partner, the People's Champ, Travis Rogers. He will be back here tomorrow, but please let me know in the comment section on YouTube and throughout the podcast world your thoughts on this show, your thoughts on me and Travis every single day. Let me know what you're thinking with the upcoming preseason game and what we should expect from Ty Simpson and our Rams. But for now, whose house? Rams house, the Locked On Rams podcast. I'm Gavin Carlson signing off. Love you, Ramley. I'll be back with Travis tomorrow. Take care.